we're secure, we're not dealing with our insecurities of how the man's treating us, internal past wounds. Let's talk about now. How can we empower ourselves now when these things come up? So, one thing I notice is, for example, my own insecurities, sometimes I deal with comparison. And it's not so much like, oh my gosh, she might be prettier than me. No, my whole thing is like, what am I doing that's making me feel insecure? Because I know I compare myself. I'm like, is it probably, I don't never think about the looks, but my thing is like, how is her character? I think more of the deeper things, her character, financial, her upbringing. So that's where my insecurities are sometimes that I have to recognize in order to not make sure they transmute into my relationships. Catherine brought up the point that she mentioned she doesn't always want to center herself in love. As women, we receive love in many, many ways. It's not always from our partners. We
Right.
receive love through our children. We receive love through our parents, our friends. But are we giving ourselves enough love in return? So, Catherine, what are some things you do to make sure you're feeling the love for yourself?
Well, that's very true what you said right there. I love that you mentioned that because no one can give you the love that you don't cultivate for yourself, and the love that you feel for yourself comes through the actions that you take every day. And I love that you mentioned that because many of us think in an early age that the only way that we can receive love is if we make someone love us, but that's not given. That's something, there's someone out there in the world that your beauty is unique for them, and
Yes.
you are perfect the way you are for them and what they're looking for in a woman. So no matter if someone has certain characteristics that you don't have, and no matter if another girl is prettier than you, the man for you and the person for you is gonna see you as the most perfect human created in this planet Earth, with all the characteristics that they want and they are looking for in a partner. Even if you feel insecure about a part of yourself, they are gonna see that as beautiful, as that's exactly what I was looking for. I put an example. For example, most of the time, my husband tells me that he feels insecure because he's old, and I think that's the most beautiful thing about him. Like many men also feel this way. They can feel, oh, I have this characteristic that's gonna make me less beautiful to someone, but in reality, when you are the perfect match for that person, even if it's something that you feel insecure about, that other person is gonna see that as one of the things that they were looking for in a partner. Just like I feel with my husband about his insecurity. Many of us can feel about an insecurity that we have and that other person is looking for exactly that insecurity that you have. So it all comes down to, what you do to cultivate and to know that you are perfect the way that you are. How you treat yourself also shows the world how you love yourself, and the way that you treat yourself is gonna show other people how to treat you. Because if someone sees that you take care of yourself, that you love yourself the way you are, that you have appreciation for all the good qualities that you have, to tell you the, the least, Gabriela, you're a beautiful woman with amazing characteristics on all your personality and who you are. I feel blessed to be able to talk to you right here and right now. We're sharing, with other women all of our knowledge and all of the things that we can share to help other women, be uplifted. And that's one of the greatest qualities that there is, because what is knowledge if it's not to be shared, if it's not to be used by other people to better their lives? And that's
Exactly.
an amazing quality.
So let's dive deep, like straight up. Beauty's gonna fade. So that is why we have to do these character developments. Beauty is in the beholder, like what you see. Yeah. This is an example. I had a friend, she was overweight, almost 300 pounds, and I'm not even trying to be funny, but she would always say, like, when she started to lose weight, people would tell her, "Oh, you look so pretty." And she was like, no, I've always been pretty. And she brought up the point, it made me feel so ugly because I always thought I was pretty, but when I was losing more weight, people made me feel like maybe I wasn't pretty, I was ugly. And I was like, no, because in that moment, like let's say when she was more heavier, there was already something beautiful within her, and that was in her character because she was always kind, gentle, empowering towards other. So it's not always in the physical appearance. She was always beautiful, but of course, when you were losing the weight, she did the character development to become even more beautiful. So I think that is the misconception people have, like, oh, like she was never beautiful. No, that's not it. She did the work, she's putting in the effort, and doing the work is not just losing weight or getting more beautiful. It's putting the work inside of who you are mentally, emotionally, how you treat others. Are you a giver to people who might be more vulnerable that need it in that moment? Are you able to step outside of your perceptive and put yourself into their shoes? So when it comes to that, and I'll tell you my story too of how I give myself love, because I had severe cystic acne, I was overweight, and I kid you not, no one would look at me. I would never get compliments, and I was like, okay, I know I need to do the work, because before that whole experience of my cystic acne, I was super fit. I was always happy, but relationships happened. I got depressed. I was going through a lot of grieving periods. I got overweight and cystic, and people saw my transformation through my page. My old photos are in my personal page. If anyone wants to look and do a fact check, it's there. But I did the transformation of, okay, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm not married, dating, but it's not really the men I want. Or so I had to go more within, what do I want? So I started working on words of affirmations. I would look in the mirror and tell myself, Gabby, you're beautiful. Even though I felt so awkward, I had to do it. I would go on walks. I was like, okay, I don't want to pay for a gym membership. I don't want to spend money. What can I do now that's useful for my resources? And also, I lived with my parents, so they were always strict, like, where the heck are you going as a 30-year old person? So I would go on walks in my backyard. I would go hiking. I would also try to splurge in my beauty care. So I would buy like face sheets. I bought Sky Bliss skin therapy, and that's literally how we met. Was when I had severe cystic acne.
I know, and I see the improvement so much. You have worked on
Yeah.
yourself, and I see, the changes that you have done is just unbelievable. And sometimes there are so many changes that you can be doing, internally that people don't see it from the outside. And it's just, a healing process because you have to choose. Sometimes we cannot work on everything all together at the same
Yeah.
time. Sometimes you have to work from the things that you need to work on inside of yourself to become a better person. It's not always about how you look.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have made such an improvement, within yourself, and I see that, you look better, you feel like you are more happy, and all of that takes, a work that is a behind the scenes work that not everybody understands. Sometimes when people tell you, yeah, you look so pretty and all that, it doesn't mean that you weren't pretty before. They're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to tell you that you are prettier than you were before, and
Yes.
they're applauding you on your improvement, on what they can see, because there are sometimes things that people cannot see that are beautiful about you. It might be your aura, it might be your energy that is just, more positive than ever, and that makes you look more beautiful. And those little changes that you do every day, even your internal self or in your body, in your physical self, are gonna show up and how you present yourself to people, and they're gonna notice there's something beautiful about you. Sometimes, they cannot see it. It might be internal, it might be external. It's all about the process that takes to become your true self and who you are. It's about having compassion with yourself, taking the time. Sometimes, I might not wake up, and I bet every woman feels this. You don't wake up with your best hair. You can have a bad hair day. You wake up bloated because you kind of like didn't follow the perfect diet the day before or anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that are happening. You're not going to be your perfect self every day, but it's about the progress that you make. It's about, you know, the self improvement that you apply into your life, and that shows the growth that you make as a human being. And it's definitely not about the physical all the time. And there's so many things that internally are more important to work on, that is not only about your appearance. But of course, people are only can comment about what they see, so there's so much work that you do as a person that is o sea, que es digno de ser aplaudido, como en español lo puedo decir, que no mucha gente ve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think a lot of it too comes from we don't see it for ourselves until it starts getting reflected. So until we don't see it for ourselves, we're gonna be our own hardest critic. Um,
Absolutely.
I could tell you with the wand, the Sky Bliss wand is Catherine's brand. So that's what helped me with my acne. I kid you not, I tried everything in the market. It did not work. The wand is what really helped me. And it could have been a combination because I was eating more vegetables. I would say beets really helped with the acne too. But it's all a reflection. So when we were talking about why men where if we have this fear that men will cheat when we're successful, it can't always be the case because that is you putting in your work. I would tell you back in the day, because I'm still in my single era, I had a low self concept of how I looked. I've been dating, and when I was doing more of the work, I've had 3 men propose to me in the last year. But even though some of them were successful financially, they are just not bringing me enough peace to know I could bring this person into my life. So it always comes back to what are your key values in life? Yes, you probably want someone that's super financially successful, but do they have the character development? I could have someone that probably has the character development but doesn't have the success there. So you want to find your equal partner. We are what they say in the Bible. A man might be stronger, but a woman is your equal half. So with
Absolutely.
that,
And it's also not only about, you know, what, for example, whatever person that comes and wants to marry you or whatever, how they make you feel. Sometimes what they make you feel is not exactly right, so you're
mm-hmm,
not ready to give, you know, the next step. And one of the most important things for a woman is how they feel, because we're emotional creatures and we want to feel at peace, we want to feel happy, we want to feel fulfilled with ourselves. That's one of the reasons why, you know, I created Sky Bliss. I wanted to make women feel that they're working little by little on themselves. You know, it can be about appearance sometimes, because that's part of the self growth of the whole human being that you are. But having like a little space to have a moment for yourself, not only to look beautiful but to relax, to feel like you're doing something for your body, to depuff, to massage, to feel more beautiful. And I just love when women feel like they're their best version of themselves, because that's when I do those little rituals and those little things, even when you apply a little bit of makeup. And I love your brand because of that, because makeup is a tool that you use to, you know, enhance your features, to make you feel more confident and more beautiful. And that's what Resilient Skin is also about, which is your brand. And I love that concept of, you know, doing little things that make you feel more beautiful and more, you know, at peace, relaxed, and more like you're working on your self improvement. That's like really important, and that's something that every woman wants to feel. And to finish up, I want to ask you, right, with all those these ups and downs of life that we go through as women, to like work on ourselves, what's one of the things that you will say is most important for a woman to cultivate to feel like they are whole within themselves?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like to feel whole, it's really coming down to your values. Um, for me, I feel whole when I'm surrounded by my friends and my family. I wish I could say a partner. I don't have a partner yet, but I really look for my sisters. That's if I always say I thank my parents so much for giving me sisters because without me having sisters, I think I would be lost. I will feel very lonely. And also, not only that, friendships. Catherine, I feel, is my polar opposite. Like, we're the yin and the yang. So, we have a similar life. So, similar but different. But I feel like that makes me whole because I could go to them when I'm in my lowest and I know they could bring me back up. But for me to feel whole within myself, I just go back to the basics words of affirmation, skincare, makeup, my beauty treatments. What about you, Catherine?
I think that to feel whole, actually, because sometimes there are different periods of your life of different things that you do to feel whole. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, what grounds me the most is to spend time with my daughter. She grounds me the most and makes me feel whole. But before her, I will find that wholeness in my alone time. My
Yeah.
alone time will take a lot of self-reflection, self-reflecting, and having time to like reflect on what are the steps to like have a better life that would like complete me a lot. Because I remember that when, in my single era, I was working on a restaurant, and I like literally back to back every day working, working, working. And I remember like having a time when it was quiet, that I would not hear people like talking all the time, that like the restaurant noise and all of that will be like my heaven. My
Mm-hmm.
heaven will be to have a little bit of peace and quiet time, so I can think about what are the things that I have to do to like improve my life. That would make a really huge part of my mental well-being, because I'm an introvert normally, and I need that kind of like self-reflecting space to kind of like organize my day, my ideas, and all that I want to achieve, and also to have time to kind of like dive deep into astrology, because that's one of my hobbies. I love, no, literally, I love to read and research about astrology and know about like the deep workings of the psyche of each personality and each person. I think that kind of like helped me a lot to understand my psychology better as well, and to kind of like feel grounded in life, because there are so many things that happen. Life is so fast paced that if you don't take moments to reflect, you kind of like feel a little lost.
Yeah, you lose yourself. So again, the more you know thyself, the more successful you will be, the more boundaries you will set for yourself, and you'll just be more respected. So with that, we're gonna end it here. Be sure to check out Catherine's page at Sky Bliss and my page at Resilient Skin Co. Bye guys.
Thank
See
you
you
so much
next
for tuning
time.
in. We love you. Bye.